Did you hear that? Well, for the very first time, you're hearing what a comet actually sounds like as it flies through space. This week, scientists have successfully landed a robot on a moving comet, making history. The Philae lander has been sending spectacular images back to Earth, but now, unfortunately, it has gone dark. The Philae relies on solar power, and the battery has died after landing in a shadowy area of that comet. The big question now, can it be saved? Joining us now to talk more about this historic mission, NASA Planetary Science Division Director, Dr. Jim Green. It's always a treat to have you here in the house. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Emma.
We love having you explain for our audience, just what's happening at this moment as these amazing discoveries take place in space. Like last time when you were here talking about the Mars Curiosity and rover. So that was very interesting as well. And now we're talking about this comet that just blows your mind when you consider what actually happened this week.
Yeah, so 20 years ago, this idea of a comet lander and orbiter was conceived by the European Space Agency. They developed a spacecraft called Rosetta. It has with it a small lander. They named it Philae. And then when the Rosetta was about nearly 20 miles away from the comet, it actually released the lander and then put it down on the head of the comet. So here's what we call a shape model. This is what it looks like. It's very odd, two major lobes. We don't know if this comet actually is two pieces that were put together or that something happened to it, perhaps a close passage by Jupiter stretched it. We really don't know. But it came down into this region, bounced, and then came up about a half a mile, and then finally settled down in another area very far from where it initially went. But we had some great opportunities for some fabulous data. I believe every instrument's reported in. Science data got transferred all back to Darmstadt before the batteries ran out.
So it's just a question of issue of the batteries running out at this point, and they have to get charged up again with the solar panels that are part of this spacecraft.
Yeah, so the little Philae lander does indeed have a whole series of solar panels. They actually had an opportunity to move it to catch more sun. So I think we could consider it in hibernation at the moment. It might end up being cold enough that the spacecraft, the little lander, doesn't revive. But I would anticipate as the whole comet gets closer to the sun, they'll try to revive it.
So for our audience, so they have a better perspective, understanding why this mission is underway in the first place, to begin with, its history, incredible history that's been made by the fact that it took 10 years to make, 10 years to make this journey also, and this is where we are. It is important because vital information about our universe can be gleaned from this comet.
This is really a spectacular moment in history for us to try to understand, because this is a time capsule. When our solar system was created and the cloud collapsed, it first formed the comets before it formed the planets. So when we go to a comet and when we interrogate what this is made of, we're really looking back in time as to how the materials collapsed and some of the basic properties of our nebula, our solar nebula.
So when you take a look at this and you consider that it's dark right now, do you think they have had time to get enough interesting, important information to get a better understanding just in case it goes dark forever?
Well, the lander was never designed to last for a significant period of time. It has a set of 10 instruments on it, and they're tasting the comet. They looked at the magnetic field. They actually have an experiment that ran radio waves through the comet and back to the orbiter. And so that was all very successful. So they have already received an enormous amount of data that was planned to be taken by the lander. So it's a tremendous success already.
Already, no matter what.
No matter what.
And you're optimistic, perhaps, that this is going to get started up again.
Well, Rosetta, they put it in hibernation for 2 years, and perhaps they can bring Philae back to life. We hope so. But even if it doesn't, once again, it's made those initial measurements that will tell us what's happening in the early part of our solar system.
So fascinating and so great to see you and have you here to explain all of this for us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.